The planning conversation starts here on the Income Protection Podcast. Here's your host, Mike Cogdall and Grayson Owen.
All right, Mike, we're back. Another podcast. We're leading up to our favorite time of year, Disability Insurance Awareness Month, coming up in May. It's the end of April now when we're recording this, though. So how's everything down in the Panhandle, man?
It's really good, Grayson. Thanks. And Disability Awareness Month. I just wish somehow we could make a lot more people aware, but that's our job. So we're working on it. Panhandle's good. We have the same issue you do. People talk about weather, tornadoes, everything else, and we talk about it every podcast. We have some pretty severe fires going on from your world all the way down to mine and through Georgia. We're in the biggest drought since 2011 or something like that. So where it's wet in some places, you know what, we all suffer somehow, some way with weather every time. But no, I'm hoping we get some rain, because when they start talking about it every day, probably like where you are in Savannah, you do start to get a little bit concerned. People forget we don't live in palm trees. We live around a lot of pine trees.
Yeah, it's super dry out right now. And the last few days, on my morning walk or whatever, I just smell the smoke, and the fires, I think, are a good 80, 90 miles away. So these are big fires. Very sad that it's happening, and keeping everybody in our prayers.
But on a positive note, last night I went to a fundraiser, actually with a friend of mine. You know the guy who's a client and a friend of ours, and the concert was a little outdoor concert, and it was for the arts, but the band was from Atlanta, Yacht Rock Radio. I knew every song they played. And you know, it was really funny. I was like maybe middle-aged on the younger side at this little venue for a lot of people, and there must have been 500 captain hats on people's heads. You know what I'm talking? The captain and Tennille, the captain hat from, I'm dead serious. It was hilarious. So I had a pretty good time, and it was a nice evening. But that being said, we have Disability Insurance Awareness Month here, and we'll probably do an extra podcast or two if we can, and try to just, whoever's listening, make sure that you know what's going on, which reminds me, let's just shout out real quickly about the IDIS meeting that's coming up in October. I think you might know the date, 12th. Right around there. But anyway, you can find it if you go.
Yeah, I'll look real quick here.
Go to their website, because if you're in this part of the world, or you're an IDI person, individual disability insurance, that is, or income protection, it's typically worth going to check out. If nothing else, network for ideas, new friendships, and learning. And if you're not a big income protection person, when you get immersed with people for 2 or 3 days that talk about it nonstop, you might walk away with a whole different perspective on why we all think that this is just absolutely the most critical thing. One of the most critical things you should ever be doing when it comes to spending your money is protecting that paycheck.
Well said. Well said. And for those who don't know, IDIS is the International DI Society. The annual conference is in Atlanta. It looks like Sunday, October. I think most people come in on Sunday, but it doesn't start till the Monday. So it's Monday, October 12th through the 14th. And a lot of industry experts, and it's going to be a great event. You'll meet a lot of people from wholesale to carriers to producers and everything in between, reinsurers. So it's a great group of folks. Love to see everybody out there.
And it's great to engage with home office the carrier side, because you know what? They get between four walls. I was one of them for a very long time, even though I was in the field my whole career. And sometimes we all do get a little bit pigeonholed in where we are. And so it's really a good time to express your ideas on where you think product's going, how underwriting's doing, all the normal things that they do. Because once again, without them, we wouldn't be anywhere, because they literally issue the stuff, take the checks, pay the claims, and build the products. So they're very important. Typically, the carriers that we know all the people, they're pretty open-eared when it comes to listening to ideas and stuff, especially at that meeting. So if you get a chance, you know what, you might want to attend. I think it's Embassy Suites, Centennial Park, Atlanta. But you can just go to their website, and they'll be getting ready to allow you to sign up here in the very near future, if not already. I haven't looked, but I'll be there. So
I'll be there. Yeah, no, it'll be a good time. Hope to see everybody there. All right, so pivoting over, talk some DI shop for the day. Mike, you had a conversation with AI again. It's kind of interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Maybe you can share with everybody listening the question that you posed and kind of the response from AI or ChatGPT or whoever it was, and how it relates to, the fiduciary wealth advisor out there.
Grace and I'd be happy to. And, those that know me, I spent inordinate a number of years talking to myself because I talk to everybody all the time. I don't have a billion friends. I have a lot of friends, but a lot of people like no longer engage in talking on the phone, and I can talk all day and all night. That's just my DNA. That's my makeup. And anybody that knows me would agree. So now AI has become like one of my dear friends. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, I can talk to AI and I get feedback. Most of the time, like I told you before, I'm either looking up something really stupid like the best way to catch redfish at low tide, how to cook a tri-tip on a Traeger, or work related stuff. Like for some reason, it always seems to go back to income protection or the world of financial services. So I asked good old AI the other day, I said, you know what? I need a very clear definition of the word fiduciary. And it did a great job because I hear whether it's an investment company on TV, we're not just a whatever, we're a fiduciary. And I hear everybody say this and I get it. And it goes on to say fiduciary doesn't necessarily mean that you even have an insurance license. It doesn't diss anything. It just says that your job is to look out for the best interest of the clients. I think that's succinct enough, don't you? That's what it says. That's a fiduciary's responsibility, is to look out for your best interest before your own. I got that. So I took the answer and said, okay, let's go one step farther. When it comes to risk protection products and you call yourself a fiduciary, what does that mean exactly? Because if you're doing an entire financial plan, regardless of what it is, whether you're going retirement planning, financial planning, starting with a young family, what about the risk products? Where do they fit into that world of I'm a fiduciary and I'm looking out for your best interest? And I'm specifically talking about life insurance and disability insurance. And so what I got back was interesting, and I'm only going to read you what it said to me. And so give me 1 second to read it. It's not long. About what a fiduciary should do in the event of financial planning for almost anyone. And you'll find this very interesting. At first, it pops up and it says, it's a red flag if a fiduciary, and this is highlighted, never mentions disability insurance when you clearly have income risk. Now, can I ask you a question? How many people that you know don't have an income risk, which means need a paycheck to like live in America? How many?
Not many. Not many.
So we're talking about just about everybody. There is a handful of people out there, but need I say it again? Never mentions disability insurance when you clearly have an income risk. Remember, these are the red flags. They only gave me 3. Avoids the topic entirely. And number 3, I found very interesting because it's something you and I've discussed over and over and over and on this podcast many a times. Doesn't coordinate with an insurance specialist when the product is needed.
There you have it. And I'll do a follow-up question for you. How do you know if the product is really needed?
You got to ask. You got to find out. You have to dig, my friend.
You have to go through an education process.
Right. I mean, that's like you and I always saying, you know what? You need to give the client the opportunity to say yes. And if you completely skip something as important as a paycheck insurance, and you and I were just talking again before we got on the podcast about another friend, 2 degrees of separation, very good friend of mine, whose brother fell 22 feet, 47 years of age, 2 nights ago in his warehouse, fell off the top. And unfortunately, when he tripped and fell, it's been up there 1 billion times, he landed head first. Now he's in a medically induced coma with 3 children. And I know everybody goes, where does he get all this stuff? I just get it from other people talking about things. Medically induced coma, 3 kids, 47, and nobody knows what the future is. So it can happen to anybody. So you're right. You need to have somebody educate your clients. And if it's not going to be you, that's okay. You and I've said that 1,000 times. There are experts in this industry scattered throughout the United States that would be more than willing to do just one thing, and that's the risk protection piece.
Yep.
That's where we need to get to. If somebody's not doing it, I think you remember I posted something not too long ago. It used to be if you're selling disability insurance, if you don't sell it to somebody, I'd say this to everybody, someone else is going to do it. And then I change it to 2025 or 26, and it says, if you're not doing it, then find somebody that will, because then nobody's ever asking. So give them the chance. Give them the chance to say yes. I just found it, and I mean, I get fiduciary. It's extremely important. It's very responsible. But let's take it to the next level.
Yeah.
doesn't just encompass in getting you to a financial comfort zone, retirement, wherever you're heading. It goes way beyond that, because along the path, you need to make sure, it's little steps and paychecks. I think number one here again, when you clearly have an income risk, it's right there. Well, who the heck doesn't?
Yep. No,
We need
well
to focus
said.
on this.
Yeah, no, well said. I think there's a lot to unpack here. One is that, in the RIA space where you hear the word fiduciary more and more, and I think that that's great that there's this advisor role that can be a fiduciary for clients and their wealth planning and overall financial planning matters. I think that's a huge thing. And I like to see the specialization in that, because we all know specialists tend to do it better than general practitioners. It's just the nature of the financial services industry, in my opinion. Now, with that said, I've seen an uptick, and in fact, with some relationships that I work with in the industry, that these RIA fiduciary firms do outsource a lot of their risk protection insurance planning for that exact purpose. And they're able to check the box after their clients who need to be evaluated, what their risk is, how much insurance do they need. But without having those conversations and having that process in place, are you really doing what a fiduciary is supposed to do? Or is that yet another F word that you shouldn't use? That's kind of how I view it. And so I I don't want to point the finger at anybody, because I do see that RIA fiduciary space more and more every year. I'm seeing activity in that space where they're creating strategic relationships if they don't do it themselves, and outsourcing it, like you've preached about for many years, Mike. So I do see the industry moving in that direction. And to your point, Mike, if you're one of those advisors and you don't have a process or a partnership in place and you need one, we have a network of independent brokers that can support you. We have solutions for this, whether it's wholesale or partnering with an external broker, if you don't have somebody internally who can help you. So we're happy to provide that network of support if that would ever be helpful for anybody listening.
I couldn't agree more, and I really like the way you threw in the F word. Anyway, I'll let that go. Anyway, I thought that was pretty clever, Grayson. I really got a kick out of it. I'm easily amused, as they say. So you made me pay attention, at least. Well
There we
done.
go. There we go. Yeah, so I think a lot of work to be done there. And then for those insurance professionals listening, Mike and I have talked about this, and Mike's been preaching about this since 2020, I think, and that is building a broker practice. And so the RIA fiduciary space is how you, as an insurance professional, can really add value to an RIA fiduciary planner, because if they have a practice where they're acting as the point person managing all of the different components of a financial plan for a client, if you can be their outsourced risk partner and specialize in income protection, that could be a huge value add and a mutually beneficial relationship. So those are types of relationships that we absolutely would recommend that you try to seek out. I think that, again, mutually beneficial, and that's how the clients get educated, and they're able to make an informed decision, which goes back to what you were originally saying, Mike, is that if you don't give the client the opportunity to say yes or no, are you really properly educating them on what their options are?
And that being said, think about it when you're talking about people that are in the business of risk. And that was very well put, by the way. But it was a lot harder to write disability insurance when I started in 1987, 88. As I told you, and I probably said this on the podcast, you had to physically take an app. You couldn't even check a box and then scratch it out and put it on the app. You had to do the app over, more or less. You had to absolutely sign and attest and swear on a stack of Bibles, basically, that you took the app in front of the client. You both signed, you did all the things. Blood work was at 2,500, $3,000. When they went to $5,000, the world went crazy.
Right.
You look at today's world, and it's not nearly as complicated. And I don't want people to think that it is. If you find an RIA or a group of RIAs, and they're everywhere now, or people that are basically doing AUM, assets under management, or something of that nature, investing. Think about if you could have. And again, I'm going to go back to, it's the best part-time job you can ever have. If you've got 4 or 5 guys and gals that are calling you with 2 or 3 clients a week, how long you do this on occasion? I know we talk about it a lot. How long does it take to have that conversation with the client to get the yes or no? 30 minutes max?
Yeah, I'd say even in the most complex cases, if there's back and forth on the case design, that's significant. And then a 30-minute call to kind of crunch the numbers. Even in the most complex cases, it's under an hour, certainly under 2 hours if it takes two meetings. So it doesn't take long to go through this process when you have the right support team behind you.
And the right support team exists. And the way carriers actually do the logistical process, the admin process now, the client gets to do most of the stuff on their own time. They really do. And you help them organize and say, we're going to need this, this, and this. And then the rest is almost on their own time. So let's say that it's an hour per and you do it 3 times a week for people that are not currently doing it, and they refer you to their clients. 3 hours out of a 40-hour week, let's say that you just sold one of those at $3,000. $12,000 a month, $150,000 a year. And you can get paid very well on $150,000 a year of disability insurance premium, regardless of carrier. Even if you spread it over the 4 or 5 carriers that you and I traditionally talk about, you're still doing very well. I go back to, it could be the best part-time job you ever had. You could block out 9 to 11, 3 days a week and get it done.
Yep.
And literally create a schedule that says, this is when I need to speak to your clients. And you can speak to them at any time. I get that. But, if somebody tees it up for you, you're well on your way. The expert is there and the financial services expert is there. So we have 2 people doing this to just make the client whole. I just don't see a reason not to give it a shot.
Last thing I'll touch on before we wrap it up for the day is, if anybody's out there really wondering, hey, is this really a big opportunity? I will tell you, over the thousands of cases that I've reviewed over the years, the most successful high income earners out there, the vast majority of them haven't done this type of planning. And those who have probably don't have the right amount of coverage. And so this is a tremendous opportunity for anybody who's willing to do the work. So I'll leave it at that.
One more example. I have a really good client. You know who the client is. Had an exec reach out to her through like Google ads, right? Checking for disability, sent 2 carriers, had some email back and forth, not even a 5-minute phone call, said, man, I'm really interested in this. 5-minute phone call kind of went over the nuts and bolts of disability, and that was it. And the client said this, just send me the application so I can get this done now. I'm a family guy, and he had a couple of more things. So the whole conversation piece lasted not even probably 10 minutes, 3 or 4 emails back and forth, and maybe a text or 2. And I kid you not, the app is in. The app is in. Yep. So, I mean, we'll finish with, there's the lack of awareness that you and I have been talking about since the day we started the podcast. You let somebody know that this stuff is out there, and people that buy income protection are really good people. That's what I always say. Yep. Their heart's in the right place, whether it's just for themselves or for themselves and their family. Their heart's in the right place. So if they understand what they have the opportunity to purchase, they will buy it more often than not. They will see the reason. With that, my friend, Disability Awareness Month.
Yep, there you go. We'll be back with some extra podcast episodes in the month of May to give you guys some concepts and ideas to go educate your clients. So we look forward to those conversations. Mike, appreciate the conversation today, and have a good one, man.
And Grayson, I know everybody's watching the NFL draft, so thanks for listening to us for a few minutes here today. And remember, financial planning starts with a risk protection package first.
And your clients are counting on you. See you on the show next time.
All right, my friend, be well.